welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Dan.
Chris.
Sean.
You're not Lee.
I'm not Lee, thank God.
You're better.
I don't often get confused with being Lee, I don't
No.
think.
No, I went all Brick Townland on you there and decided that you're not Lee.
No, it is true.
Yes.
So, anyone expecting political incorrectness and swearing tonight? No, you'll still get it from the rest
Most
of
of us.
Yeah.
But however, yeah, just on perhaps a lesser scale than normal.
Yeah, this might be slightly safer for
It'll
work.
be more evenly shared out, maybe. Lee
Yes.
won't just be hogging all the...
All the swears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's well, we're recording. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
We don't do a podcast on a Friday.
Well, we do this week.
Well, Monday, Dan and I did a video.
You did.
Did you watch it?
I did.
We did.
We watched it, sat outside
The lobby bar
the lobby
in our
bar.
hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whilst drinking cocktails. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty good job. Think we did a pretty good job, Dan.
Better
It
job
was
than you did
Better
at
than
that.
I did with that sentence.
It was all right. I wouldn't have watched it.
Would you not? I watched it a couple of
No,
times. I'm joking.
I knew what we said.
Yeah, we were there. That's why I don't listen to this, because I was there.
And it was all the wrong way round and everything.
Yeah, back to front. That's my fault. Sorry.
Yeah, I wondered why you filmed that in a mirror.
Didn't film it in a mirror. It's just me being stupid and not realising how to work my own software.
Ah.
Anyway,
We
we were talking about Formula One on the video because we didn't want to leave our listeners with nothing for a Monday night.
That is true.
So we gave them a 12-minute video.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out on the YouTube channel. But yes, we talked about some stories, which we said we'd go into more depth in the podcast. But there's been other news since then.
Of course there's been other news since then. There was a Tuesday.
I know. Then when the Tuesday Formula One news happens.
There was news within, 12 hours of that video going up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was 12 hours, yeah. Well, there were
There's also been cars on track since then.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
has, yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
and in barriers. And,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but so about 12 hours after we recorded that video and uploaded it to YouTube, there were rumblings on Twitter. My phone went off a couple of times in the morning. Oh, Pierre Gasly's gonna be in the car for Toro Rosso. I was like, well, I kind of knew that. He's replacing Sainz next year, isn't he? Surely. And then I didn't realise it was for this upcoming race. And it's actually, well, no, Kvyat's out the car and Gasly's in for the next races.
Unspecified quantity
Yeah.
of races.
Which has kind of been speculated on for how many now, which is up to Austin. Because Austin clashes with the last two races of the Super Formula Championship, which he stands a damn good chance of winning because he's only half a point behind the leader at the minute.
Yeah, I only found that out after the news broke that he was going to take the seat from Kvyat in Malaysia.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yes.
happened sooner than most of us would have guessed.
But they're going to be teammates next year, though, unless something drastic happens.
It's happened sooner and also later, because it was kind of half announced about this time last year, wasn't it, that Gasly was going to replace Kvyat, or Gasly announced he was replacing Kvyat,
And then
got told off and sent to Super Formula for a year.
Yeah. Go and race those Japanese cars that always break down.
Yes, and wind your neck in.
He's kind of done that this year.
I think
'cause,
so.
Yeah, that's probably why they're sent him to Japan. Which is Japan the F1 version of Coventry?
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Although I had a little bit of speculation and conjecture. I don't know if you spotted it on the chat, Paul, but I said about the Honda deal could have something to do with Kvyat maybe losing his seat in 2018. Because Nobuharu Matsushita was to take a seat at Sauber when the Honda deal was being talked about there. But then they obviously that collapsed and Matsushita was not talked about again. But now that Toro Rosso are going to be getting Honda engines next year,
But he doesn't have enough points for a super license, does he?
I don't know, but he was going to be a Sauber driver.
He did a test with Sauber, didn't he?
Yeah, when it looked like they were going to take on Honda engines. But I'm wondering if Honda are going to push for Matsushita to be in the car, and Kvyat maybe only has a couple of races at the end of the season left of his F1 career.
Quite possibly. Because although Matsushita doesn't have the super license points at the moment, the FIA are apparently changing the super license regulations again.
Making it harder or easier again? Because they made it harder.
They made it harder, so I think they will now make it easier for drivers with sponsorship from an engine company that they would like to stay in Formula One, for example, Honda, to put a preferred young driver in a Formula One car.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Matsushita is announced at the end of the season.
Also, they've just launched their own range of goalposts with wheels fitted.
You can move them to wherever you want. I feel sorry for Danny Kvyat, but at the same time, his performance has dropped.
He scored 4 points this year.
Yeah, when Toro Rosso scored, I saw an interesting stat put up on Twitter. I forget who posted it up, but it was who scored the percentage of points for the teams. Now, Pascal Wehrlein scored 100% of Sauber's points this year. Marcus Ericsson hasn't scored any. And then the next highest was 92.3%. Carlos Sainz has got 92% of Toro Rosso's points this year. Which, yeah, when you look at Danny Kvyat's 4 points compared to Sainz's 48.
Yeah, we need to put this into perspective as well. Jolyon Palmer has scored more points now than Danny Kvyat.
Yeah,
this year.
That's
with
not
1
a
point
stat
finish.
You want against your name, really, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
with his points finish of the year.
It is. I think that Kvyat does have a lot of points on his super license as well, which is another reason
That's a big
A lot of
factor.
gas-
Gasly
points,
may
yeah.
come in.
He is one. He's not here. I can say he's one total shunt away from a one race ban, where they would have to replace him. Up to, funnily enough, Austin.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got Malaysia and Japan, haven't we, before
Yes,
America? Is it then the US race after the Japanese race?
I think it is because we're on back-to-back weekends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so there's a 2-week break before the US.
And that's 23rd of October, isn't it, or something like
Sounds about right.
that? Yes, looking at calendars.
I wouldn't bother looking at that one. It's still on September. We're not into October yet.
No.
I believe that would be the 22nd of September.
October. Which sounds about right for the
Yes.
US Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So also the teams aren't.
We should be more prepared for this, probably.
We wouldn't be us.
No, exactly. This is exactly how we like to do things.
Yeah, on the fly. But yeah, the teams are going straight from Malaysia to Japan with them being back-to-back flyaway races.
Yeah, and encouraging the drivers to do the same as well.
Yes.
So replacing Kvyat for those 2 races with Gasly kind of makes sense to keep the continuity between the team that are in Malaysia and the team that are in Japan.
Yeah, and then they can just leave Gasly in Japan for the Suzuka finale
Yes.
and pick him up with the left luggage later on.
That's why they've done it. Because the races at Suzuka and, of course, the Super Formula finales at Suzuka,
Which
they're giving him a huge opportunity to take the championship
By
at
leaving
Super
him there
Formula.
2 weeks early.
But
by giving him a race
An
around
extra
the
bit
track
of track
in
on
a
the
car
top.
that works.
Yeah. Do you want to practice for your Super Formula race? You're not allowed to do testing, but we've got a car you can use.
it'd be interesting to see how he does. I haven't actually seen where he's fared in his practice times today, but it'd be interesting to see how he fares during the race in a racing situation in Formula One. Whether he plays it safe or whether he's aggressive or not. I know the weather has thrown up a few surprises in today's practices as well, so
Yeah, it was-
might not be able to read too much into performance or lack thereof.
Well, I mean, FP1 got massively delayed with rain.
Yeah,
FP2 got screwed up because of the drain cover.
yeah.
But I'm just looking for the times.
Also, I'd like to point out again as well that I predicted rain again, and so far it's been so
In
far.
FP2, Gasly was faster than Sainz.
Well, there you go.
by about half a tenth.
So
So-
not much in it, but not at all bad for your
Not at
second
all.
practice session.
And we know Sainz is generally fairly good,
Very, very good.
And of course, everyone was faster than Ericsson.
obviously.
Oh.
The drain cover did better than Ericsson.
I'm looking out the window and I can see a coach down there.
Good for you.
Pretty sure that coach is quicker than Marcus Ericsson.
Yes.
There is every chance, even when it's full of pensioners
Yeah.
that are about to drive on the Isle of Man ferry.
In FP1, you can't compare Sainz and Gasly because, of course, it was Sean Galliel in the
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
in Sainz's car. Yes.
Okay. There you go.
So
Well,
FP1
maybe
was a
they
little
look-
bit GP2.
Well,
There
maybe.
were a lot of other drivers in FP1.
Well, I'd say maybe Sean Gelael is a taking over Kvyat potential for 2018. It just sort of, a lot of people seem to think that Kvyat's just gonna, he'll be back next year. Don't worry about it. They're just putting Gasly in the car for a couple of races. I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. I think Danny Kvyat might have had his chips, literally. I think that he's used them all and he's not got anything to show for it.
The best tweet I saw about Kvyat was, anyone got any ideas what he was watching on TV this time? I can't remember who tweeted that, but it was one of our listeners.
Game of Thrones last time, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's the new Star Trek series just come out, so he could have been watching that.
He could have been watching that. Game of Thrones not on at the moment, is it? Or is it just finished?
Unless he's very behind.
Which he
he
might
could
be,
be
being
having
a
a
racing
catch-up.
driver. Yeah, catch-up session.
Yeah, we're about 7 series behind.
We've seen precisely one episode.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, no spoilers. It's probably not worth it. The other thing that was being talked about during FP2 today, well, Sky were talking about it, or most of the Sky team were talking about it, but one member was staying remarkably silent on all this conjecture, and it was, which number is Paul di Resta going to use for Williams next year?
Right.
He was getting some serious wind-ups about what number he was going to choose.
Well, he used number 40 when he did the Hungarian Grand Prix, replacing Felipe Massa at the very, very last minute.
But he can have if he does come into Williams next year, he can actually have a new number.
I think each team has a designated
Designated
test
spare
driver
number.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that is theirs, I believe.
Yeah, McLaren's appears to be 47 because Van Dorn raced that last year when he did one race,
Yeah.
and then Lando Norris tested with 47 on the front of his car.
Yeah, Renault have 46. I
Yeah.
noticed that when Sirotkin
Pierre
was
Gasly
in.
has chosen
And
number
Kubica.
10 because that was the number that he was successful in Formula Renault with. So he decided to keep that.
Fair enough. Which was, of course, the first time we've actually seen a number been used twice, because you can only keep it, was it for 2 years?
2 years, and because Kobayashi's not there
Yeah.
anymore
And hasn't got a seat.
and isn't likely to get another.
No. Weirdly enough, Kobayashi is still racing in Super Formula, is he not?
He is.
He is,
I
but
think he's about 3rd or 4th in the standings, I think.
he's not winning.
No.
They
He's,
said
he's competitive.
Yeah.
but Narain Kartikeyan is at the bottom end of the standings in that particular formula.
Nothing new there.
He'll,
But
he'll be used to that. But no, Sky were making a very, very big deal about Paul di Resta's future for next season.
well, they will be, because the rest is a pundit for them. But I mean, Dan and I...
and what were they going to do without him?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Do they not want him for next year? Are they trying to get rid of him?
But the thing is, we spoke about this very briefly, didn't we, on our video on Monday? But Williams have decided that they've shortened their list down, haven't they? To 3 drivers.
Yes.
The incumbent driver Felipe Massa, their reserve driver Paul di Resta, or Robert Kubica, who is, I think, still to have that private test in a 2014 Williams. Don't think he's had it yet, has he?
No,
If
he
he
hasn't.
has, it's been very private, which doesn't happen in Formula One.
No.
As soon as that happens,
I
everyone will
think
know.
there was. He'd originally been slated for a test at Suzuka yesterday.
Oh,
if I
okay.
remember this right. Which, if you believe reports on the internet and in some fairly respectable motorsport magazines,
Yeah.
Other motorsport magazines are available.
it was that test was originally arranged for Lance Stroll, and the Strolls said no to. My brain's gone completely dead now.
Dan's got brain fog.
They didn't want Kubica to take it off Lance Stroll.
Thank you very much, Sean. I'm glad there's someone who can finish my sentences, because I can't do it myself.
I think that's what you were aiming for.
Yeah.
See, this is why we record.
all of the words.
This is why we record podcasts at the beginning of the week. You know, when we've still got brains that work.
Yeah.
The end of the week, brains are finished.
Yeah.
We just want to relax in front of Formula One and soak it all up again, ready for another podcast.
Oh, was I meant to say something there?
I don't know. I was just looking at you.
Sorry. I'm still relaxed. This time 48 hours ago, I was on holiday.
And now it's over.
Yes.
But yeah, as we said, those are the three drivers that Williams are looking at. Now, Massa has already said if it's not Williams, then I'm not going anywhere else in Formula One.
But the problem is Massa, I think, is hurting himself by the "I will only stay at Williams if they want me."
It
Yeah,
doesn't inspire confidence.
was a little
He
bit-
doesn't want it.
It
does
was
he?
a little bit of a poor me situation.
Yeah.
When you
He did
you're
the
in a-
same at Ferrari, though, didn't you? Remember when he got fired from Ferrari? Replaced at Ferrari by Kimi Raikkonen. He's just like, he said he wasn't going to race for the team anymore. He was racing for himself. It's like, well, that's like toys out of the pram, Felipe. Why don't you just say, well, I'll do my best, and we'll see where we are at the end of the season.
Yeah, it would appear that one of Massa's sponsors is still putting money into Williams, Randstad,
Okay.
because I noticed there was something about the next year's intake for the Randstad Williams Engineering Academy.
Right.
So Randstad will still have some input in Williams next year. Now, I don't know how much that is likely to affect Massa's position in the team or not, but it's just interesting to see that with them being one of Massa's backers, they're still doing something with the team.
Yeah.
Well, he did sign a 2-year contract, didn't he, when he came out of the very briefest retirement?
No, it was only a 1 year.
Was it a 1 year? I
Yeah,
thought
the
it was
1 year
two.
contract, I
because
think.
Bottas's was a 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's now got a new 1 year. He only ever for 1 year.
Seems quite happy with that, though, doesn't he? Seems quite happy.
Keeps
Very,
you
very,
sharp.
very Finnish. Very Finnish. Possibly even more Finnish than Kimi Raikkonen. Did anybody see the drivers'
Maybe
press
that was
conference?
just to shut Eddie Jordan up, because Eddie Jordan was saying, "Come on, Toto, give him a 5-year deal."
They give him another year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about did anyone see the Kimi Raikkonen in the press conference
I caught
yesterday?
bits of it.
Yeah, but this is the last race in Malaysia. What are you gonna miss about Malaysia? I don't know. All I see is airport, hotel, circuit.
He was asked about staying cool as well,
yeah.
wasn't he?
How are you going to cope with the heat?
Drink more
Drink
water.
more water.
Not have an ice cream.
Yeah,
Malaysia, of course, was where the legend of Kimi and the Chalk Ice started.
it was. Yeah, when all the drivers were sat in their car, waiting for the race to restart, Kimi was in his shorts and t-shirt, eating an ice cream, going, "This race isn't restarting."
So Kimi has better weather prediction than even you.
Yeah, he does. Well, no, he was there. It was happening at the time.
Yeah, that's not prediction. That's just
No.
looking at the sky. That's recognising rain.
Yeah. That right there is rain.
So I'll have an ice cream.
Yes. Well, because you get humid rain, don't you? Warm.
Yeah, it's wet.
Yeah, warm. No, humid rain where
It's warm, but
it's warm, but
pissing it down.
Yeah. Yeah, humidity is anyway. Let's not go off on that tangent. Yes. So what do we think about the chances for all of those 3 drivers then? Because there are 2 other drivers that were looking at the seat, which have been
Marcus Ericsson.
Marcus Ericsson.
Not a driver.
no.
Well, no, not a driver, but also you would think that weirdly that he's like super secure in his seat at Sauber.
But apparently not.
No, apparently Fred Vasseur has been like, well, Marcus Ericsson, yeah, okay, but we need 2 drivers in who can do the business.
Do,
And
do any of us think that Ericsson has done enough at Sauber to justify moving to an upper mid-grid team?
no.
No.
Ericsson, who was happy when he qualified last at Hungary, as in he winked and put a thumbs up with a little bit of a smile when he qualified behind Paul di Resta at Hungary.
Yeah, for fear of sounding like Lee, I just can't see the point of Marcus Ericsson.
No,
No.
It's neither can I. I mean, I defended him a long time ago now when he first joined Sauber because his year that he had at Caterham, because he still is the only driver to go from Caterham to another team in Formula One. Every driver up to Marcus Ericsson was at Caterham and then just retired or disappeared.
Will Stevens?
One race doesn't count.
Okay.
But when he was the new guy and Alonso got annoyed with him. But yeah, Ericsson always seems to have a stronger second half of the season. But in that Sauber, which is, as we've already discussed, is now Manor pace
Yeah.
behind
And
the rest.
going backwards.
Going backwards at an alarming rate of knots. 6 seconds a lap, 5-6 seconds a lap. It's not good enough.
Yeah, and what was it?
A driver of Ericsson
4.4 off the fastest time.
in the wet.
Or
was that an FP2?
In FP2, when it dried out.
Still 4.4 seconds. It's pretty. It's desperate, isn't it? Really. So this year Sauber's not going to be able to show the potential. Nobody's going to get to show their potential in that car. Doesn't matter who you put in it. So Fred Vasseur has basically said we need 2 drivers that are going to be able to do the job, not one driver and some guy who's friends with the owners of the team, which has fueled the rumours that the 2 young Ferrari drivers could be in for next year. That's Leclerc and Giovinazzi, and Pascal Wehrlein is also being talked about.
Hasn't lost his seat
No,
yet,
no.
according to Vassar.
Yeah, according to Vassar, he hasn't lost his seat. So that the Sauber merry-go-round, but Ericsson basically looking at.
But Sauber are making it sound like Ericsson has.
Yeah.
He was interested in the Williams seat, and
Don't think
It
the
wasn't-
Williams seat was interested
No,
in
it
him.
was not a
No.
reciprocal interest.
another driver who was not the interest was not reciprocated and has actually come out today and said he's still trying to find a seat in Formula One for 2018.
there aren't any left.
No, Jolyon Palmer.
Where is he looking for this seat?
Safety car? I mean, Burt Marlander's been doing the job for quite a while. Maybe Charlie Whiting wants like new blood in the safety car. And let's face it, Palmer's caused enough.
He's probably retired Burt Mylander, isn't it? Payoffs, you know.
Actually, maybe a safety car driver has only got so many miles before they lose their ability to drive a sports car really quickly. And because of Jolyon Palmer, he's used up all Burt Mylander's lives.
Again, to echo what Sean just said, don't know where Palmer's looking for this seat. Where's it going? Where's he going with that one?
Stefan GP going to have another last-minute attempt to get on the grid?
Does he
Would
know
he,
something?
even if that did happen, that highly hypothetical situation that a new team come in, would he be the first name on your list? Nah.
No.
No, he wouldn't.
He wasn't, but he wasn't even in the first, as we said before, he wasn't even in the first 4 names on Renault's list for this year.
No, he wasn't. No, I mean there are plenty of other drivers that you would go to first before you got to Jolyon Palmer.
Get Kamui Kobayashi out of retirement and let's have some kind of fight between him and Pierre Gasly before he gets number 10.
Gasly will win that.
Yeah,
It
probably.
would be, I think if 2 people want the same number, it goes to the person who was higher in the championship in the previous year. Because that happened with Bottas and Jules Bianchi. They both wanted 77.
Oh, really?
Bottas got it because he had finished higher the year before.
So Jules Bianchi was 17,
17.
wasn't he? Yeah. He went with
It was style. I guess it's a 1 with a taily bit at the top is
Yeah.
stylistically
You're
similar.
allowed your own font.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting to see if Lewis redesigns his for next year and holds a picture up of it in his selfie lift.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? So yeah, the Williams heat between those 3 drivers,
Which really and truthfully...
not 5, 3.
Yeah, which really and truthfully is the last competitive seat on the grid.
Yeah.
It's the last seat on the grid, isn't it?
Well, Sauber
Sauber
haven't
situation.
decided what's going to happen. But are we
And Alonso, of course, there's still a shade of a question mark next to him. We think he's staying, but it hasn't been announced.
But if he decided that he wasn't, then that seat would be open.
Yes.
And I don't think there's any driver who's a shoo-in for that, is there?
No.
No, I mean Nick De Vries not quite ready, I would say,
No.
Lando Norris still a year or 2 off.
and not eligible for a super license yet.
Yeah.
It has been pointed out as well on Sky. We're making a big deal today about Fernando Alonso has had a haircut.
Oh wow!
So he looks nice and tidy and, ready for
press
promo
conference.
shots and a press conference.
Yeah.
Which with Japan being next week, I don't know whether Honda would still want it to be announced in Japan with it not really being their car next year. So, but it seems like they're getting ready for that.
Of course, there would be one possible replacement for Fernando for next year if he decides to go. Oh, he's not here, but we'll just move on.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
But it looks like he's probably staying
Yeah.
now.
It would be. It
All
would
signs
be a major,
point to yes.
Yeah, it'd be a major surprise that if he wasn't in the McLaren next year.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Jensen is their 3rd driver for this year.
And he was.
He was,
Yes.
he was when Fernando went off to do the Indy, and he told Fernando he was going to pee in his seat, which still I think is his best team radio message
Yeah.
of this year.
Yeah. By the way, any thumping you can hear, Bruno is being very podcat tonight.
Yes,
He's licking
yes,
his
he is.
leg at the moment.
Yes. So obviously, I don't think McLaren are going to take Button up on their option of 2018 seat. So
I'm not sure Button would take McLaren up on. The
He's been
option
living
of a
in California
2018
now, isn't he? You know,
seat.
he's quite happy being retired Jenson Button.
Yeah,
Um,
he's got a book to promote in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, there you go. So I don't think Jenson is going to be anywhere near that McLaren. Fernando, I think, will probably stay.
Yeah, which fills the grid up pretty much. It's just what Ferrari decide to do with Sauber and their young drivers.
Yeah, and whether Pascal Wehrlein will be allowed to drive a car with a modern Ferrari engine in it rather than a year-old one.
Unless, of course, he ends up back in DTM, as we've speculated before. and
yeah,
you know,
of course.
various people have speculated.
I would put De Resta in that Williams seat.
I would also pick De Resta.
Out of the 3 that are available, yes, but I suppose it all depends on if Williams sees something in Kubica that.
I'd like to see Kubica, but
Yeah,
I
that would be
think
the-
De Resta is the smart option.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Kubica. De Resta would be nice. I think Williams will go for Massa.
Do you think so? Pass up the opportunity of maybe a 2 or 3 year deal with another driver, because is Massa good enough for another 2 or 3 year contract?
Everything. All the drivers are going to go on a huge merry-go-round sort of musical chairs thing next year.
Yeah.
It's the big thing at the end
Yeah.
of next year because.
So do a 1-year deal.
What is it? Contracts that are up next year: Lewis, Bottas, Vettel,
Both of the Red
Raikkonen,
Bulls.
both the Red Bull drivers.
Has Vettel not signed a new contract?
Oh, sorry,
yet?
no,
He
Vettel
did, yeah.
isn't available.
Yeah.
He's got 3 years, but there's still a Ferrari.
I'm
signature.
sure
I
there'll be a
think-
get-out clause
I
as
think
well.
the Verstappen contract is disputed as to whether it's up next year or the year after.
That's an option on Red Bull's part, isn't it? Which is basically that they're saying, well, you don't get to decide when your contract ends.
Yeah.
We do.
Yes.
So yeah,
Isn't that how Red Bull work?
pretty much. I mean, going back to what we were saying before about the Toro Rosso drivers, I'm actually quite looking forward to the Toro Rosso team changing things up again a little bit, because it's been 3 years now of Sainz, Kvyat, stroke Sainz, Verstappen. So I'm looking forward to seeing some new drivers coming in. I really want to see how well Pierre Gasly does. I mean, we berate the Toro Rosso meat grinder for what it does to some talents, but I mean, let's not forget Sebastian Vettel, for one, came through that team, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can produce.
Don't forget to say Danny Rick as well, otherwise we'll get complaints from Gemma.
Well, I said for one, so for 2, yeah, Danny Ricciardo.
And Sainz looks to have done quite well, as well as Verstappen.
Absolutely.
Although Verstappen doesn't really count because he wasn't part of the meat grinder machine. He was just
No, he was brought in last minute
and
as
had a label slapped on him.
yeah, pretty much.
He came pre-ground.
You've been doing way too much cooking lately.
Yeah.
Bring more Cuban sandwiches to another blog session. Right, so while we're on the subject of Red Bull, then talk a bit more about the Aston Martin sponsorship deal and what it may entail.
Yeah.
Which could even go up to them building the engine.
Could go up to them building the engine. I haven't seen any more about this since Monday. Although I did make a point of pointing out, what was it, innovation partnership? That's some Ron Dennis level of
They talked about the innovation partnership that they've had over the past few years
yeah.
and how they're continuing this innovation partnership and strengthening it.
By becoming AMR Red Bull Racing, which is
Yes.
Aston Martin Racing, Red Bull Racing, if you think about
It's a
it.
lot of
yes.
racing.
Yeah.
Racing squared.
But Aston Martin said they'll look into engines if or power units rather, if they become simpler and more cost effective after 2020. They don't want to enter a formula late in.
Sorry, we've just been sent a tweet actually while we're
Oh,
doing
right,
this
okay.
with a mock-up of what the Aston Martin Red Bull could look like
Oh,
next
so
year
that's
in British
in
Racing
the
Green.
green.
If it was British Racing Green, I'd be quite happy with that.
I like
it's a
cars
bold
that are
look.
British Racing green, but the Red Bull looks horrible in it.
With the Red Bull logo.
Well, that mock-up doesn't make it look like a pretty car.
I think because what they've done in that mock-up is made it perhaps look like the matte colour that the Red Bull currently runs, but they just made it green.
But the Red Bull logo doesn't really go with the British Racing green.
No, it doesn't. There's too much going on there. if there is a livery change for Red Bull, I'd expect them to go like more of a black sort of colour.
They do have a lime flavour to promote.
They do. We had encountered a lot of this over the last week and a half or so.
Well,
I've
they've
not
got
seen the
lots of
lime
flavours,
flavour
haven't
in
they?
Britain, but
Orange
it's everywhere
flavour.
in Spain.
Well, they got the orange flavour.
There's a blueberry one. There's
Yeah.
a cranberry one. There's that. Is the hideous cola one still about?
Which is the one that they used to plug on the Toro Rosso
Yeah.
cars.
I think, do they still do that, or is that
I hope
not?
not.
A thing?
That was a disastrous
Yeah,
thing.
they're still plugging Red Bull
No,
Cola on the.
no.
No,
on
that
the
should be
Toro
banned on
Rossos.
grounds of taste and decency. It's an indecent attempt that tastes awful.
I think that's the only time with any kind of energy drink that I've got about 2 mouthfuls into it and not finished it.
You even managed to finish a can of Lewis
I
Hamilton
did,
Monster.
and that was pretty grim.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton Monster's terrible. Some weird sort of like bubblegum flavour or something like that, isn't
Really
it?
artificial bubblegummy grape, I
Yeah.
seem to recall. I haven't had a second can.
No,
No.
no.
But
I
no, with,
foolishly gave it a second chance.
but with Aston Martin saying there's a possibility of engines, don't forget there's all the talk now that 2018 will be Red Bull's last season with a Renault in the back of it, and they will be forced to switch to Honda because Renault may pull the plug on them as a customer team, and whether the Honda engine works next year or not.
But do you remember? Sorry, go on.
In 2019, Red Bull could be forced into it, and we actually could see, unless Honda get their shit together seriously, we could actually see Red Bull doing a McLaren.
It's a possibility. I think it's too far ahead to really say exactly where they're going to be. But
Could you imagine? I mean,
We are talking about-
Helmut Marko is pretty angry 90% of the time.
yes.
Could you imagine how angry he would be
What's the other 10%? I've not seen that.
when one of their drivers wins?
Yeah.
Victorious.
Yeah, Red Bull have won just under 10% of races this season. He was happy then.
Yeah, but only for. Well, only until the cameras went off him.
Yeah, that's true, actually. So, could you imagine how angry Helmut Marko would be with a Red Bull Honda performing like a McLaren Honda? I don't think there is that much anger available in the world.
Possibly not. No.
But bearing in mind that in the 2 practice sessions, a McLaren Honda posted the 3rd fastest and the 5th fastest times
in
Malaysia.
yeah.
It's been very weather affected, and there was a crash, so I don't know how much you can give that.
Yeah, but how long in the race is that engine going to last?
That's the problem
That's
because
a good point.
because they
we'll
turn-
talk about this more in the preview.
yeah, because they turn the wick up, don't they, for in that Honda like they did at Monza, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, they can produce the power, but not for long periods of time.
Yeah,
And that's the real.
no energy regeneration. It
Yeah.
overheats. It vibrates itself to pieces once
Yep.
once it's been at a certain level of power for a certain amount of time.
And McLaren have been fairly patient with Honda. 3 years, and they've said right, 3 years is enough. And they pulled the plug, but I don't see Red Bull being as patient.
No, because Helmut Marko wants results yesterday.
Yes.
Look what he's done to Danny Kvyat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Promoted, then demoted, then dropped.
And possibly out of
And
Formula One.
possibly binned. Now, I don't know if you can do that with an engine supplier.
Well, I mean,
There hasn't been a mid-season engine change for. I remember Sean posted something about this, but it was in the 80s.
a mid-season engine change.
Engine manufacturer change.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite severe. I remember the shit show that was the McLaren Peugeot. Was that 94? I think
Yeah.
that was.
Again, that was a good engine when it worked. It's just that it didn't work more times than it did.
Yeah, I think I seem to remember Martin Brundle getting a second place at Monaco, and it was just like, yeah, and it's like, well, hang on a second, this is a circuit that's not where you're not using your engine.
And then
How familiar is that?
and then blowing up at the start at Silverstone.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, could you imagine the amount of crap that would be flying about from Helmut Marko and the rest of Red Bull if the Honda engine turns out to be a dog and Red Bull are actually forced to use it?
It could work out awfully for
Yeah.
everyone involved.
But I mean,
If-
Aston Martin are waiting on, as everyone else is, waiting on what the 2021 regs are going to be
Yeah,
for
but-
the engine before they'll commit to actually building one. But they don't know what they've got to build at the moment because they don't know what the specifications are going to be or anywhere remotely close to.
And they're a lot further down the road than a lot of other engine manufacturers are, and looking at entering the sport then as well.
Yeah.
Lamborghini, we know, have attended meetings with Formula One.
I think most of the manufacturers who could reasonably think about entering Formula One have been to these engine meetings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cosworth have thought about it and have been to meetings.
Porsche, I think. Were another
Porsche
one.
have been to meetings, and said Lamborghini.
Audi? Were Audi in the mix? They
Possibly.
turn up every now and then.
Possibly. There was definitely another one, and I can't remember who.
Toyota-
BMW
Yeah,
were there as
Toyota
well.
turned an invitation down.
Right. That's
Did read that somewhere. I don't know how. Where.
Oh no, Audi Group were there. Audi sent a representative, but we don't know if it was. It might have been Lamborghini.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but Aston Martin look like the favourites to be the next engine manufacturer to enter, especially with the Red Bull deal because they're now actively taking part in Formula One with a Formula One team.
If F1 are wanting to bring in more engine manufacturers as well, which obviously they do, Aston Martin saying, oh, we'll come in if we like it, they could end up actually influencing what the engine regulations are, because we know that F1 will chop and change their rules quite often to suit.
We're back to the goalposts
Yeah,
again.
We
the
are,
moving
yeah.
goalposts. They might go, okay, well, if that's what Aston Martin want, we want Aston Martin, so we'll let them do what they want.
Yeah, because I mean, at the moment you've got 4 engine manufacturers.
Well, 3 in Honda.
Yeah, well, I was going to say 3. You got the Honda don't really well. They do count, but then they're behind. They've still been behind since they entered the sport. Ferrari at the moment only supply Sauber, Haas, Sauber, Haas, and of course themselves. It's and they kind of treat Haas and Sauber as junior teams almost.
I think we'll see Sauber being junior Ferrari more next year when they've got the up-to-date engine. At the moment, it's here's some cast-offs.
Yeah, and there's the rumor will not go away that Sauber could become Alfa Romeo Formula One team.
Yeah.
So, that's we need more engine manufacturers. But I mean, look at things like was it IndyCar have only got 2 or 3?
2.
Two, Chevrolet and Honda.
yeah.
And Honda is the good one there.
Yeah,
Well, Honda's the first one when it makes it to the end of the race.
Yes.
It's
As Alonso found.
It's the making it to the end. But well, that's just Alonso's last couple of years.
yes, making it to the end.
I think it would be a good thing to see an Aston Martin powered car on the grid.
Definitely.
The more engine manufacturers, the better.
Well, as long as they're within 2 seconds of the front of the grid.
Yeah, I mean they're the fairly successful GT racing team, aren't they? And
Yeah.
so they've got the pedigree. They know what they're doing. I seem to remember we said this about Honda, but Honda had the pedigree and knew what they were doing. And
Remember when we started these podcasts just before the start of the 2015 season? It was before Dan joined us.
it was.
And we were all really excited to see what this
McLaren
McLaren-Honda
Honda
partnership was going to do.
Yeah, we weren't going to look for them in Australia. We were to look for them in Abu Dhabi or Brazil, whatever was the last race that season.
And the start of every podcast when I joined went, so, McLaren.
Yeah.
Which is still a running joke now, and some of the listeners have actually picked up on it and been like, "How long are you guys going to talk about McLaren for this week?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
124 shows down the line. We're still waiting to find out when we can look for them.
yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Yes.
Next thing I have written down, Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, there's not really been an update since we said anything on our video on Monday, but for those who haven't seen our little vid that we did, the earthquakes that struck Mexico City, there were 2 official earthquakes and 1 big aftershock, which basically is another earthquake. So there's been a lot of damage, a lot of devastation, and sadly a lot of people injured and killed. However, the circuit Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez
That's the one.
has not been affected. There's been official inspections done, and the buildings and the circuit surrounding the area not affected, and they're still planning as normal to go ahead with the race at the end of October. Of course, the infrastructure will have been damaged. There will be rebuilding going on whilst Formula One is there. So, I mean, the tone of the race will probably be very, very different to how it was last year, for example, when it was very, very sort of like, party mood kind of atmosphere. But yeah, a month after a very, very serious earthquake that's struck Mexico City, not quite as big as the one they had 100 years ago or however long ago it was.
Well, there was
But
there was
that's
a serious
besides
one,
the point.
There was a serious one in 1985
Yeah,
while they were planning for the 1986 World Cup.
yeah,
And to the credit of the entire nation, the whole country was back on its feet. I'm not just talking in sporting terms,
yeah.
but the whole country was back on its feet within a remarkably short space of time.
Good stuff.
Now, you've got more info on this than I have, because obviously we've been away. I've not seen too many details, but I believe Sergio Perez is raising funds for everyone in Mexico that's been affected by the earthquake.
Yes, I'll let Dan take this
yeah,
one.
Fundación Checo Perez is raising funds for people affected, with a little bit of help from Carlos Slim, who is giving 5 times whatever anyone else gives. So if you give $1, Carlos Slim
gives 5.
gives 5.
Right.
Sergio Perez personally put in $170,000, or I think it was 3 million Mexican pesos of his own money.
So Carlos Slim then donated 15 million.
Yes.
That is excellent.
Yes, so I think on Monday we were up to just over $500,000.
Yes.
So which looked like Carlos Slim was going to be putting in about $2.5 to $3 million of his own money. But yeah, I mean, we had a link on the YouTube video. I'm sure we can put a link up as well on our website to the Fundación Checo Perez. If you wish to donate to that foundation to help disadvantaged Mexicans, and of course there are quite a lot of them at the moment after this earthquake. Not just the injured and those who lost loved ones, but of course people who've lost their homes and things like that as well. So
Mark Zuckerberg has also put $1 million in.
oh, there you go. So that to the Fundación Checo Perez.
No, to the Mexican Red Cross.
Ah, well, there you go. Yeah, I think Carlos Slim only said to the Checo Perez Foundation, didn't he?
I think it might be to anything, but it's definitely
the
to
Checo Perez Foundation.
Checo Perez Foundation, who have currently raised. Just checking where that is. That is just over 9.5 million Mexican dollars. Mexican pesos.
And it's roughly 3.33 pesos to
So
the
about
dollar.
$3 million.
Yeah.
So yes, get, I hope you got deep pockets, Mr. Slim. Of course, we know he does. So yeah, Mexican Grand Prix, as we say, bit of a different tone to it this year, probably.
Yeah.
After what's happened there,
But-
it's not often you get races like that, really, is it? That you go. I mean, remember Bahrain a few years ago, where they were having like a humanitarian crisis, where the government were basically
Clamping down on everyone that wasn't them.
yeah, and putting in curfews and things, and then inviting Formula One to a couple of weeks later, and the drivers weren't allowed to say anything. It was a bit weird. I think Mark Webber was the only driver who actually said anything when he was on the podium. But yeah, so it's a strange situation when you go to a Formula One race and there's a tinge of sadness in the air.
Yeah.
No, definitely. What have we got next on the list? Williams shortlist. Well, we've actually already discussed that.
Yes, we've discussed a Williams shortlist.
So I guess that moves us on to. Well, it's part preview, part review of Malaysia, because we've already had 2 practice sessions.
I think it's a more informed preview than we normally
Yeah.
have.
Yes. Us informed.
Previewing a weekend that's already started. Was it the Red Bulls who thrived quite well in the wet earlier on today. I think with the first and second
they
in
were,
FP1, weren't
yes.
they?
Yes.
Verstappen ahead of Ricardo with Fernando Alonso in third place, which has led Dan to put a pound of his own money on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For Fernando Alonso to win or just podium?
Just podium, top
Just
3.
podium. Fair enough, which, it's not out of the question if it stays really, really wet.
To be honest, given the Malaysia circuit, which has those 2 pretty long straights,
It's just a series of bends.
That's
Continuous bends.
generally what happens with the circuit.
continuous bends, but two long straights with
Hairpin
with a
in
bit
the
of a
middle.
hairpin between them. I thought those would kill the Honda engine. I was not expecting to see Van Dorn or Alonso up there.
Possibly not, but again, today was for anybody who's just joined and was not listening earlier. This is Friday, so we're recording after the practice sessions.
Yeah, why would you start listening to a podcast halfway through? You download it and listen to it from the beginning. This isn't live, Chris.
I said if they weren't listening earlier.
They weren't listening. It might have been on. It doesn't mean you're listening.
Exactly.
You could be
We're
doing
back
the
to James
vacuuming.
Blunt.
Exactly. Anything could be happening. I don't know. I don't know what these people do when they listen to this podcast.
In some cases, you probably don't want to know.
No, probably not. But the
Send us no.
No.
no. So yeah,
I've seen enough of that kind of thing this week, and for that, you'll have to listen to the Patreon show.
yeah. It was weather dependent today, wasn't it? Really, practice, and it was delayed. First practice was delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was only about 50 minutes of running in the
Something
end. I
like
think I lost
that,
about the first
yeah.
half hour.
Oh, there you go.
And then FP2 was all over the place because the track was drying, and then we lost the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was more like half an hour.
There was half an hour
About
to
that.
go when we started watching it this morning.
Yes.
Because I didn't realise that Channel 4 was showing it live, so we ended up tuning into it late.
Yes.
Because we didn't have Sky in our hotel. Right. Bloody Premier Inns. Well, that's another potential sponsor that we've lost. But yeah, I think it was about 20 minutes to go when Grosjean had the crash. How the hell did that happen? Why weren't the drain covers checked? Especially when it's on the inside of a corner on the racing line.
Yeah, we saw that with was it Monaco?
Monaco last year when
Rosberg went over and loosened it a little and it hit the front of JB's car.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a street circuit.
Yeah, where there are drain covers.
Yeah, you expect there to be drain covers on a street circuit because it's a road.
Yeah, the drainage on a circuit, a proper built for purpose race circuit, should be off the track. The track should be cambered for the water to run off, and the drainage should be off the circuit.
Well, they have the drains as close to the track as they can, so that you don't get puddles.
Yeah.
Which is why you're seeing the drain covers actually on the curbs.
That's fine, but they should above all things be screwed in.
Yeah.
Or welded down, which is what they do at
I
Monaco.
think they have welded it down now. I think there were some pictures a couple of hours after the event, and it looks like it's fairly welded on now.
What the FIA was saying was they think it was welded but not properly.
Right.
That's reassuring.
But of course that means it wasn't inspected thoroughly, which is quite scary.
Particularly at this time of year as well, because they've got the MotoGP in a couple of weeks at Sepang. There's 12 hours of Sepang, I think the last weekend of November or the first week of December, somewhere around about
So
there.
it's a busy time for
It's a
Sepang
busy time. There's a
circuit.
lot going on that circuit at the moment.
And they shouldn't really be half-assing things.
Not really. It's not ideal.
One thing that has come out of it though is Haas have been allowed to break the curfew to repair the car overnight.
Good. It
Which
wasn't
is
their
because,
fault.
It wasn't
absolutely
their
not
fault.
their fault.
No.
Nothing that Grosjean could have done to stop that
I
happening.
mean, and he very quickly went from having 4 wheels to having basically 3.
yeah.
And then,
And
and then
missing chunks of car.
yes,
Yeah.
very, very quickly, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently it was a 17G impact when he hit the barrier.
17.
Yes.
Good lord.
and
That's quite nasty, but a
That's-
lot lower than some of the ones we've seen.
Yeah.
What was the one where Alonso went over the curb at Abu Dhabi? Was that something like 40G?
50-something, I think.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Or was it Melbourne last year that was his 50G one?
That may have been Melbourne last year, where he cracked his rib. They pretended he was fine. Tis but a flesh wound.
One thing that has come out of it though for Haas, Grosjean was running a new floor and a new front wing, and they were the only
Oh, dear.
iterations of those
no.
parts.
So So not only have they lost them for this Grand Prix, but any testing, they've got, 10 laps of testing done?
Yeah.
Yeah, in not perfect conditions either, to really sort of see how their new components were working. That's
18 laps of testing.
18 laps. That's
Oh, no,
unfortunate.
FP2, so they got FP1 done as well.
There was someone else in the Haas in FP1, but I
There
think
was,
it was Magnussen's car, not Grosjean's. I think Grosjean was out in FP1.
Would have been.
It would've been
Grosjean was in
Giovinazzi, I
FP1
think.
for 8 laps.
Yeah, see,
Token effort.
thing is, 'cause with it being so wet in FP1, I don't think you would have got the data that
No.
you needed from your new components. You need to really to push them as hard as they can go, and of course you can't do that in a wet weather situation. So I feel for Haas with that one, and hopefully they don't struggle too much this weekend. I noticed K-Mag's got a special helmet for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Any particular reason, do we think?
I
or
didn't notice
did
that.
anyone spotted that?
No, completely missed that.
Any of their sponsors Malaysian?
Haas.
They haven't got many
that I
sponsors,
know
have
of.
they?
No, the only two names on the car are Haas and Richard Mille.
Well,
What's special about it? What's
it's just a different
to
design. It's just a bright white helmet with a very shiny red K on the side of it, which is slightly different to his normal helmet,
It's
which is a bit
giant
grayer.
packet of cereal.
Yeah, it looks like a special K-Mag.
I think we've just got a new nickname.
Special K-Mag. Lee would like that one.
Another thing that's come out is apparently McLaren have got a chassis upgrade for the weekend.
Wonder if that's helping them in their performance then.
You'd hope so.
As I said,
Otherwise, it wouldn't be an upgrade.
it'd be a downgrade. But the
Yeah, like all those Honda engine upgrade.
yeah. But no, again, it's to go back on exactly what I just said. Hard to tell in conditions for today, really, as to whether or not it's going to be chassis or engine.
Just before
related.
the Grosjean red flag incident, they did flash the speed trap up, and the McLarens were second and third from bottom through the speed trap, so they're not quick in a straight line still, but we knew that. But
Yeah,
And who was last?
I think we all know who was last.
Marcus Ericsson.
Yes.
Yeah, of course he was.
Yeah, to quote a line from the last live blog, what is that turnip doing in a car?
Yeah, exactly. When was it that Alonso said he was fastest in the corners? Was that Spain? Going through the corners.
Yeah.
Going through the corners, I am the fastest.
Yeah.
It's just when they hit the straights, I've got nothing.
I suppose he's fastest in the corners because he doesn't have to take off as much speed, so he doesn't have to overbrake.
Perhaps.
It's a theory. It doesn't sound likely, but it's a theory.
Don't stop giving me that look. Or do I need to wear the special K-Mag helmet?
Well, you've just thrown your phone across
Yeah,
the room.
you have.
So
How did you
Yeah.
manage that?
I plugged it in to charge it and then stood on the cable. And, you know, these new Samsungs, they look all sleek and curved, and they're really sharp when they bounce off your foot.
Aha.
There goes
You're,
another
you're allowed
sponsor.
to say "ow" if you want.
Yeah, ow. So, after seeing 2 interrupted practice sessions, do we know anything more than conjecture?
Mercedes don't.
Alonso's going to be on the podium.
bold. Very
That is your bold prediction.
Mercedes don't appear to be very strong. Ferrari appear to be slowly sorting it out.
Now, this is Mercedes that weren't very strong leading up to the actual race in Singapore, and then
Yeah.
Lewis just managed it perfectly. Okay, there was the freak crash,
Yeah.
but
They seem to be struggling with lower grip.
And also, Danny Ricciardo said he could see, whilst he was following Lewis Hamilton, he could see fuel coming out of the Mercedes. So that
That's not good.
No,
No.
he thinks that they were running ridiculously heavy today because the tank was so full that when they were going around corners, it was coming out where you're supposed to fill it. which I'm sure that's not a Formula One thing.
right now, who are Mercedes' main sponsor and provides their fuel?
Patronus.
Who sponsors the circuit?
Patronus.
It's just a display.
But you don't want fuel all over the track
Right,
as well.
right,
That's
Sean,
not a good
Dan,
look.
you're both cycling fans.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know, you see the Tour de France. You get the
With
caravan.
the caravan where they
yeah,
throw.
where they
Yeah.
throw products out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't wasn't overfilling. It was
free samples.
throwing samples to the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it.
Go
That's exactly
round
what it is.
afterwards with like a sponge or something and blot it up and then wring it out into your tank. I don't think that works.
Just give everyone Patronus towels and go get it yourself. Official race worn fuel.
Yeah, it's been a hard one to call after today just because of the weather. If the weather carries on like this for Saturday and Sunday,
Even for Saturday, it'll make for a mixed-up grid because you're not allowed to touch your car, are you, between qualifying and the race?
no, that's it.
You
Well,
can make very minor
well, you're not allowed to
adjustments.
touch your car once it sets out on your first qualifying lap.
Yeah, so you set your car up for wet qualifying, then you might be damaged in a dry race. You might go backwards. But if you take a little bit of pain on Saturday and hope that it's drier on Sunday, for the better running, you could get a completely mixed up grid if it rains on Saturday, which again could turn the race on its head if it goes one way or again the other. So
Could be just like Singapore.
exactly, could be just like Singapore, could be processional. Who knows?
Could be just like Italy,
Yep.
Could be.
because the weather really played about with qualifying there.
Yes, it did.
The second longest blog I've ever done, behind the whole Monaco and Indy thing.
What about Le Mans?
We don't talk about Le Mans. I still haven't opened that bottle of scotch you gave us, Dan. But we will be doing that the next time we play Cards Against Humanity,
Sounds good.
with all those free expansion packs that we've got up there. Thank you to Cards Against Humanity for sending me those.
Yes.
So, top three?
It's a hard one to call, but if it stays wet, and I believe it will, I'm gonna say Lewis Hamilton will win the race, Sebastian Vettel will finish second, and Max Verstappen will finish third.
It's going to be a weird one. Raikkonen first, Verstappen second, Alonso third.
Oh,
Oh my god.
Jesus. I think Vettel needs a good race after last time out, so I think I'm going to go for Vettel, Ricciardo, Hamilton.
And I think... I don't know, because there's that many variables.
Go on, be
You could have the
be
Singapore
really left
first
field and
first
say
corner.
Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel.
Ericsson.
Verstappen, Vettel, Ricciardo.
Oh, that's a
Nice.
good one.
With Alonso in an honourable fourth. And
Yeah.
that's why Fernando's getting my prediction for hero.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
Hero, Fernando Alonso, perhaps even McLaren as heroes. My villain might be... Ooh, I don't know. Easy, isn't it, really? Marcus Ericsson.
Just for being there.
He's just going to be a villain. He can't be a hero, so...
Hero Alonso. Villain is going to be whoever causes the horrendous first lap incident.
Yeah,
I can't guess who it's going to be.
because there's that nasty double turn at the end of the first straight.
And if no one's to blame, then it's the villain is going to be the Ferrari PR team again.
Yeah, they were the villains in Singapore.
No, they were the morons.
Yeah,
More phone throwing.
It just fell off. Yeah, that turn one in Malaysia isn't so bad. It's nice and wide and it sweeps, and yes, it does tighten, but it's wide enough to get pretty much the whole field in next to each other. It's a hugely wide turn. The problem is turn two, where it kinks back to the left. So you got a right hand turn, it goes and tightens and it tightens and it tightens, and all of a sudden it's a kink to the left. Everybody was going to want to move from the right side of the track to the left at the same point, and I think that's where we'll see any incident happening there.
If you're on pole, are you on the right hand side of the track or the left?
I think you're on the left. I think.
You're on the left because you get the you always get the outside line into the first corner.
Not everywhere, I don't think, but that was that famous argument, wasn't there, at Suzuka, with Senna saying what side. I think you start on the racing line,
Yeah.
which is on the left, I think.
Yeah, which would put you on the outside going
Yeah.
into the first corner on any circuit.
Yeah.
So I think Pearl is on the left. We're probably completely wrong.
I can't remember.
Well, we can't be half wrong on this.
We could be.
So villains.
Pole is in the middle. Second is right behind them.
So, villains.
I think I'm going to go for Stroll. He's...
Ooh.
I don't know why, I just feel like he's due something.
No one's gone for Stroll since Azerbaijan, actually.
Yeah. Oh, he did well there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my
surprised the
throat
hell
is,
out of all of us.
I can hear Lee punching
Excuse me and
the
my
air
phlegm.
whilst listening to this
There
now.
was shenanigans.
Yeah.
There were shenanigans.
He would have finished lower down if he hadn't have been faster than the cars that were slower than him.
Yes. There were slow cars. All of the slow cars.
No, Stroll's had a couple of races where he's like, Williams have been awful in qualifying recently, and then he's made his way through the field, and I just think he might end up being sort of too quick for himself almost, and
He tends to do quite.
happening to someone.
He tends to do quite well on the wet, though, doesn't
He
he?
does,
Lance
he
Stroll is
does.
a good driver in the wet, which is why I think he's actually a good driver and just
Which is
took his
surprising,
time to-
isn't it? Because given his form so far, surprising to see that he's actually really good when things get difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a feeling.
I think I'm gonna go for Kimi as the villain this
Ooh,
week.
Dan's got him as the winner.
I just think he might. I don't know. I just think he's gonna have some kind of moment that's gonna cause problems, not just for himself but for other people.
The
But
Force
then it co-
Indias haven't had any kind of coming together recently.
No, but they're not allowed anymore. Are they? They're not even
Yeah,
allowed to look
they're
at
on
each
the
other.
naughty step.
That doesn't normally stop people.
That is true.
There will be a point later this season where the two Force Indias find themselves occupying a very close proximity part of the track, and trying to occupy the same part of the track. It's now down to Force India how they manage that, because they haven't managed it
At all.
up until where all the crashes happened. I've forgotten, Belgium, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they hadn't managed it up until Belgium.
True. Yeah, that may happen this weekend. It's going to be a belting race. I think. I think we're in for a good one. Even more so if it rains. Not
Which
that-
might mean it's going to be really boring.
because we know how good our predictions are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We're in for a race. Let's leave
There
it
will be
at
a
that.
race.
Yes.
But there'll probably be some motor cars going in circles.
There's a chance. Right, we will be. Well, I'll be doing the live blog for qualifying. If you get a chance to listen to this before qualifying, which is I think 10 o'clock UK time Saturday, and we'll be doing the live blog for the race as well, which lights out is at 8 o'clock UK time, 3 o'clock Eastern time in the US, and we'll be doing the live blog for about an hour and a half before.
Yes, we will.
Probably more like an hour.
I usually start about 90 minutes before you two
He
just
does,
turn up
he
late.
does.
Yeah. Yeah, I did turn up for the first couple on time. No, I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, you can handle it. Oh, great. Nice one. Right, well, we haven't got a total shunt this week.
No,
Because we haven't got a total shunt this week.
he's not here.
So instead, we have another episode of...
Who's flooded their engine? Is that
That'll
what
do.
you're calling it?
Yep.
Okay.
Until we can find a better name. Send in suggestions.
Excellent. There are only 8 clues for this one.
Right.
Right.
So how strict are you being on the rules of when we've got to guess?
You could do a 3, 6, and 1 at the end.
Okay.
I was born in 1981.
Okay.
Right.
Which makes you about 36.
Yes.
Approximately.
Yeah, 35 or 36.
Yes.
Depending on when your birthday is.
There's a high percentage chance of 36 because we've had more than half of the year.
This is true.
I started racing karts aged 3.
Standard. Bit early maybe, but
Not if you get signed by Red Bull.
well, yes.
They'll have you as soon as
Do it
you're
in the
warm.
womb.
My dad also raced karts.
Okay.
Right, and we need to have a guess now, don't we?
Rosberg. How old's he?
Rosberg is younger than that, I think.
He
Rosberg's
is, isn't
sort
he?
of 31, 32-ish, I think.
Jensen Button was born in 1980, so that rules him out. It's about the right Alonso's 36.
Alonso did start karts early because his dad built the kart for his sister, who's a little bit older, but she wasn't bothered. So Alonso
And didn't his
got
dad
it.
race karts as well?
Possibly.
Should we go with Fernando for
We'll
now?
go for Fernando for the first guess. Yeah, we'll say Fernando Alonso for guess number 1.
Okie dokie. My first finish in Formula 1 was 12th place.
Alonso's first finish was something like 5th in a Minardi, wasn't it?
Yes, because it was. They were saying Mark Webber was the new Alonso because he managed to get a Minardi home in the points in his first race. So that rules him out.
I've just seen lightning out of the window.
Really?
Yes. So hopefully we don't lose power and therefore the podcast.
Dizzy is not a fan of lightning, so we could get interesting podcast activity.
Unless,
kicking off.
I mean, just to diversify and go off on a weird tangent for a second.
Not like we ever do that.
No, we had fireworks whilst you were away.
Yes, they were well advertised beforehand. Yet everyone kicked off.
But there were fireworks at the nunnery, but
Yes.
Everywhere, Onken were complaining.
Everyone shat a brick.
Apparently so. Thought that North Korea was bombing us. How
With
stupid is that?
sparkly lights.
Yeah.
That's how we terrorise people.
Absolutely. I lived in Oxford.
Are we still on sparkly terrorists?
No.
I mean, there's lots of teams in that vague neck of the
God.
woods, so...
Oh, yeah, I know this is,
Yeah.
and I'm now kicking myself, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people shouting. Oh, why has my brain gone to sleep?
Because it's Friday night.
It's Friday night, and I've been on holiday this week, and I haven't had my RDA of cocktails.
Ah, that's it.
Right, if you bear with me.
Can I borrow someone's device to check something? Because my device is dead.
Having jumped onto the floor.
No, it's just decided it doesn't want to play anymore. Thank you.
Oh, you got one. Yes, I do know. Oh, no, it's gone. We will need the next clue. Cause
I know Webber lived in Oxford.
Webber recently had his 40th birthday.
Yeah. And he didn't start racing until quite late.
Yes.
What I'm hoping is that when Flood has
You thinking
finished
he's
checking
going to
on my
return
phone,
your phone to you
I'm just going to
with
press
the
the back
answer?
button.
I
I'm
think
not
he
gonna
may
return your phone.
confiscate your
Right.
device until the end of this particular interlude.
Yeah, I'm not gonna return your phone.
Right, next clue.
I retired in more races in my first season than I finished.
Oh, so it was somebody in a fairly crappy team.
Someone in a very average car.
Just thinking about past Sauber drivers.
I was going to suggest maybe someone in an Anthony Davidson. I think he might be a little bit older, maybe.
Yeah, I think someone of that age in a Sauber, the Sauber would have been good.
Yeah,
that
that was good. I forget they used to be good.
This is taking a long time. I do apologise. Just keep talking.
While we're padding, I've got it in my head that it is someone Italian or Brazilian. I don't know why.
How old's Vitaly Petrov?
Oh, no, he's a bit younger than that, I think.
Oh, we're just testing the curb on that question to see how wet it is.
I would have said Petrov. I know he's been gone for a few years now, so I can't remember what kind of age he was, but I think he would be sort of 32, 33-ish.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Could it be a Liuzzi, if you're thinking Italian?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Chris is now. The phone has been moved to the other side of the room and on
Always
the floor.
delete
Yes.
your browsing history.
No, it's fine. You can have it back after this has happened. I just had to check one of my facts because I was unsure of it myself. I thought, hang on a second.
So you wrote it down anyway.
Yeah, I've written it down. I've double checked it. It is correct.
I think we need clue number 6.
Clue number 6. I speak many languages.
So not a British driver.
No. We need to give an answer after this one
We
as well,
do.
don't we? I like the idea of Liuzzi,
We're going to go for Liuzzi?
Yeah, Liuzzi will do.
because he was sort of flitting about between Red Bull and Toro Rosso, and they just didn't have it together at first.
Yeah, let's try
And they're
Liuzzi.
not a million miles away from the Oxford region.
No, that is true. Yeah, we'll go for Vitantonio Liuzzi.
Okie dokie. My helmet design comprises of 2 flags.
Well, definitely rules Rosberg out.
All the flags.
My national anthem.
2 flags.
Yeah. The problem with Liuzzi is he was kind of that anonymous that
I didn't pay attention to his helmet.
No.
I didn't notice.
no. I think we'll need the
Yeah,
last
I have
clue.
no
yeah.
advancement.
I have been a world champion.
But at what?
That's the thing. Oh. I can't remember his name.
'Cause he wasn't that good.
Possibly.
So, I mean, what else could you be a world champion in? You could be a world champion in endurance.
Endurance. Touring cars, because he used to be a touring car world champion
Yeah.
that became DTM.
Yep.
MotoGP.
Yeah.
Is world touring cars still a thing?
No, it became DTM. I
Oh,
think.
fair enough.
No, I think World Touring Cars is still a
Is
separate
that still
thing.
going?
Yeah.
Or everyone left to join DTM.
There's about 8 people in the series.
A bit like DTM.
Worth it.
No, like Formula V8 3.5, whatever it's called.
This week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be world champion in that.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
Ping pong.
Oh God, my brain has just it's left. Oh crap! I know this is. Who's the one that parents on a vineyard?
Are you still
The-
thinking Brazilian or Italian?
This was an answer we gave a few weeks back at Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember if we got it right or wrong with that answer. It wasn't Fisichella, it was someone else with an Italian sounding name.
Who isn't fully Italian? And
Oh, so a Franchitti or something of that neck of the woods.
Yeah. But it's someone. This is someone that's driven in Formula One, and I'm going to kick myself. Everyone is now screaming at their.
Would you like
at
me
their
to
chosen
repeat
devices.
all of the clues?
Yes.
Because this isn't total shunt, and I will repeat all of the clues. Now, I did do them in a slightly different order to how I've written them down, but I will now do them in the order I've written them down. I was born in 1981. I raced karts at the age of 3. My dad also raced karts. My first finish in Formula 1 was 12th. I lived in Oxford. My helmet design comprises of 2 flags.
Well,
I
finish
speak-
flagging the Italian flag. I've got it.
I speak many languages, and I retired in more races in my first season than I finished.
Are you Jarno Trulli?
So you got three answers.
I would have said Trulli is older than 36, but
Well,
I'm
he came in very young. I'm
But
sure
I'm not
he
The
did.
last one was
100%.
I am a world champion.
Trulli raced in karts with Sophie Kumpen,
Yes.
Verstappen's mum, and they were at a very elite level. I don't know if there's a world championship for karts. I'm assuming
There
there is
is a
somewhere.
karting
There
world
must be.
championship.
Yeah.
Who did you guys choose for your other 2 guesses? I've forgotten already.
Tonio
Liuzzi.
Liuzzi and
Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. The only other one I can think that we talked about would be Anthony Davidson, simply because he would be world champion with Toyota.
That is true, actually.
But I don't know about his linguistic prowess. Or what his second flag would be.
Yeah, because he's just...
Maybe he just likes flags.
Does Formula E count as a world championship?
No one's counting that.
Has Oxfordshire declared independence?
Maybe.
I don't know. Go with Anthony Davidson.
I don't know.
What nationalities would he be?
English and...
Davidson is a Scottish name?
That's the only other thing I could think of. English and Scots. But the many languages.
I mean, you guess you would pick up a few over the years. Lots of long-haul flights.
He raced in Japan for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Shall we go with Anthony Davidson?
Doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right, but nothing does.
I'm still veering towards Jarno Trulli, but I'm not sure on the age.
I think he might be into his 40s now.
He does like his wine.
Let's go with Anthony Davidson.
Yeah. Are you
I
Anthony
think it's wrong.
Davidson?
I am not Anthony Davidson.
Who are
So
you?
who has flooded their engine?
Fernando Alonso.
No.
Oh!
He was 12th on his first Formula 1 finish, which I think was stumped you, but when he returned after his year out, that's when he finished 7th,
Right.
which I think was a point-scoring position at that time.
That was when it was top 8.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, we'd like to thank young Chris Flood from Douglas for sending that one in to us.
Who's this young Chris Flood from Douglas? I need to find this man.
I'm feeling particularly old at the moment. Everyone's young compared to me. Yeah, this is a come down of after a week of
Dan can have his phone back now.
drinks with more than one ingredient.
Right, so we're Formula Leeing next.
Formula Lee next. Now, as I've not been anywhere near the PlayStation this week, or checking the times,
Neither have I.
or
Nope.
anything with a spreadsheet, I've got no clue on what times are good, what times have been sent in, or anything aside from the fact that it's Malaysia in the wet in a McLaren,
Yeah.
and you've got until Monday 7 o'clock UK, 2 o'clock Eastern.
And Paul's got a weekend of trawling through the last 2 weeks of Facebook messages to try and
Facebook
find
messages,
times.
emails, tweets, and going through the leaderboard on the PS4, which is a bit of a shame because I can see a brand new copy of Project Cars 2 still in the cellophane that I've bought that I'm not going to get a chance to play this weekend.
No.
I've got my steering wheel ready and everything. Although I did actually, I had to go on one of the Red Bull steering wheels.
Whilst you were away.
Whilst
We
I
saw
was
the
away,
slip.
they
Was
had-
it a Toro Rosso one or was it a Red Bull
It was a
one?
Red Bull one.
Yeah.
I put the photo on the Facebook page of Steve playing on it. The force feedback on those is bloody hard.
As in difficult to turn, or
It's difficult to turn, especially when you don't have ABS switched on. So you hit the brakes, you're trying to turn into it, and all 4 wheels have locked up, and you find yourself going in a straight line, having your arms vibrated to Kingdom Come. I now have the best toned arms possible because I'm crap at taking corners.
I'm still looking forward to when we go karting. I think we should definitely do that sometime soon. Everybody go up to our local karting track and film us karting and stick that on the website for
Yeah.
everyone. That will tone your arms.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been karting. But no, get your Formula lead times in. There will be another challenge next week, and I know we're a little bit behind on the prizes, but I'll hold my hands up and say, look, I've been on holiday. Which is why it's Friday night at 10:20, and we're only recording now instead of doing it on a Monday. We will be back at the usual time next week with a review of Malaysia.
Yeah.
And a preview of the Japanese Grand Prix because we're in back-to-back races.
We are, yeah. So back to normal podcasting times
Yes,
in 3 days.
in 3 days. 3 days time. God, is it? That's
Yes,
my
it is, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I was talking for a living. So yeah, thanks for bearing with us while we were a little bit late this week.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of this weekend. We'll be on the live blog as always. And if you want to get in touch, then drop us an email, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at 3legs4wheels.
Yeah, I'm at Flood21.
I'm at Danbert.
And I'm at Sean Cowper.
And I'm at Pablo100. And if you want to insult Lee while he's on holiday in Florida, he's at A Total Shunt.
Yeah, just send him random insults. If you want to mention potatoes in your insults, that'll just confuse the hell out of him.
Because he won't be listening to this.
No, he won't be listening to this. So if you just want to, call him something to do with a potato, potato-based insults, send them to Lee, and he'll be really confused.
Copy us in as well, so when he reads them, he'll ask us what the hell's going on. And he should have listened to the show. We're also on Facebook. You can find us there. You can find us on Instagram as well. And we've also got the Patreon podcast with a few interesting stories this week.
Yes.
May contain partial nudity. Both halves.
Almost.
At different times.
Yes.
Almost full nudity.
But if you add the two bits together,
Yeah.
there was full nudity.
Well, I
don't
was
think
thinking
there
of
was
the
ever-
man that you were talking about. He must have been...
I think he was just slipping through the top of the elastic, maybe. I don't think he took his...
Well, who knows?
Oh,
But
yeah.
you'll have to
I
find
tried
out.
not to look.
I tried to look everywhere but there.
See, if you're confused, Patreon podcast is for you.
Definitely. So we'll be back Tuesday next week, and we'll see you then.
Okie dokie. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.